The Beavers come off their second bye week of the season with a Thursday night visit from 20th-ranked Stanford.
They're trying to catch the backside of Bryce Love, and they don't do it.
Looking to build off the gains on both sides of the ball in Corey Hall's first game as head coach against Colorado.
Direct snap to Dahl, wrecks his way right in for the Beaver touchdown.
We'll break it all down with Coach Hall over the next half hour. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. Let's go play, y'all. Back up. Here we go.
He goes toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
A little late-week football in Reser Stadium as Stanford comes a-calling on Thursday night as one of the only midweek games that the Beavers will have this season. Welcome into Inside the Huddle along with Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Harris. Steve, the second bye week is a blessing. The reason they get the second bye week, though, is because of this Thursday night game. What are your thoughts on this bye week coming off of what was a great building block in Corey Hall's first game against Colorado?
I think you hit it right there. This was something very special for Oregon State. They played 60 minutes. That was the first thing. They played both sides of the ball better than they'd played any game all year. Either side of the ball better than any game all year. They were enthusiastic. The coaches did a marvelous job. You saw that of what the offense did with different positions, different formations, different kinds of plays, two backs. It was just a great spot to build from. That was a good football game to tell these kids, enjoy it for a week and come back and we're going to win some football games.
If there's one thing that we saw, there's nothing easy in the Pac-12 with that graphic of the winning records in conference play. That still remain for the Oregon State Beavers. You know, at the beginning of the year, this is the midway point for Oregon State this season. We looked at the beginning of the year of the offense and some of the challenges that you said were going to be paramount for the Beavs were the offensive line, developing the passing game, and continuing to score. As we take a look at the first 6 weeks of the year and then what they were able to do with Colorado, how do you think those three challenges that you threw down for the Beavs to grow on have done so far?
Well, the offensive line has had some moments. Their pass protection's been pretty good. They've been solid there. They haven't run the ball as well, but I think that's a combination of not only the play itself, but the play calling, the different formations. This last week, as we see here, you know, a flea flicker back to the quarterback on a reverse, big play. They use different formations. They use two backs. Nall is the tailback. It all worked out well, and they've really done some things. You saw those statistics, Dusty, and it was really frightening, the kind of season they had before Colorado and how well they played. That was the 17th best offensive game Oregon State has ever had, and they put it together after the weeks they've had. You kind of go, whoa, wake up here. What's been going on?
Yeah, well, the catalyst for that explosion offensively was Darryl Garrettson. By far his best performance of the year for the Beavs. Maybe the best performance we've ever seen from Darryl Garrettson in an Oregon State uniform.
No question with me. 20 of 37. He was accurate. He moved around. Look at him use his feet. He's got feet. He's a talented athlete. And he makes big plays here. He comes out. A couple of times he ran out to that wide receiver position and then uses this. He did everything but the shovel pass well, and that'll be coming for sure, you know that, but his throws were excellent. Timmy Hernandez, new receivers involved. Hernandez, I think, had 7, but just did a wonderful job, and you look at the kind of year he's had up until this point versus this game, 289 yards. That's a big football game for Darryl Garrettson.
You mentioned him lining up at wide receiver. He actually looks like he could run a route when he lines up out there, too. There's not much of a difference out there.
All quarterbacks can do that.
Not all of them, Steve. Not all of them. On the defensive side of the ball, we've seen a steady growth, and there were some high expectations and high challenges that were thrown down by yourself, and really, Gary Anderson put a lot of these. These are preseason goals that you kind of threw out there for the Beavs. How are you seeing them on the defensive side?
Well, if you look to the right, you see where they are in the Pac-12. They just have not performed well. Now, I say this with the defense. They've put pressure on for half a game almost every game. They've stopped the run for half a game almost every game. And they've just kind of run out of steam. Not so last game. Last game, the defense matched up with just what the offense did. They played spectacular football. They were all over the field. They tackled well. Last week, Coach Banker mentioned to us the tackling. That was by far the best game of tackling the football. And I think some of that is directly attributed to Corey Hall, his fire in his belly. These coaches are in a tough situation, and every one of them is stepping up. When you go down to practice, you watch it. They're working with these kids, telling these kids they're all in the room together and they're going to make something happen. Pat them on the back.
Well, you can see it in week 1 under Corey Hall. And we're going to be joined by the Beavers' new head man coming up in just a few short minutes. Corey Hall joins us next live from Corvallis as we get set for the Beavs in Colorado.
Corey Hall, he's so excited about this opportunity.
It was cool to see Coach Hall pumped up for the defense, for the offense. It was fun.
The vibe around Corey Hall is just terrific.
You know, obviously Coach Hall is a very expressive, energetic kind of guy.
That defines the joy that you want to see from coaches.
The energy, the excitement back on the sidelines at Oregon State University. And joining us now live from Corvallis is the man who's bringing it, Corey Hall, head coach. Coach, thank you for taking a few minutes for us. How you doing this evening?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You know, Coach, as you've come in, we hear Daryl Garrettson and Ryan all talk about the excitement and the energy that you do bring to the sidelines. Is it helping you kind of in this transition of becoming a head coach, being that young face that the players have associated with that energy and excitement for the Beavs throughout the course of this season leading up?
Most definitely. You know, I think just I would say that I'm, you know, semi-player of this generation, at least in 2000, right? Not the 2010s, but you know, the energy and the how I connect, you know, with the players. I mean, it's I've said it before. It's electric, right? The chemistry that we have and the respect, the mutual respect that we have for one another. You know, just as you know, from one player to another player. I think that's what's been, you know, for me easy for this transition. That's made this transition for me, I mean, very easy.
Coach, the way you molded this all together with your existing coaches, we know they're working their tails off, but some of the I don't care whether they're seniors, juniors, are you getting tremendous help with your players and just establishing leadership, trying to catch a little of that fire that you have exuding?
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, it's infectious, you know, and I think it's kind of hard, you know, with everyone involved, it's kind of hard to not be, you know, tugged in that direction. And so everyone's been great. You know, I couldn't have asked for a better group, you know, from both the staff and the players. You know, does that equal wins? We'll see. I don't know. But again, it's football. It's exciting. And everybody's been very receptive to it.
Coach, let's move over to the offensive side of the ball. And last week, 2 weeks ago at Colorado, you know, this was a totally different looking offense you came out with. You established identity, but more than that, Coach McKibben and Coach Wood, the staff, put together a great game plan. They mixed things up, different formations, different motion. Was this all just simply, you know, turning it over to the offensive staff and saying, establish yourself? How did that develop?
You know, they actually were preparing and kind of doing what you saw against Colorado. They were doing it early on. I think it was just, it evolved, you know, more. The identity is of this football program, we're going to run the ball, you know, offensively. And, you know, we're going to minimize mistakes. And we're going to put our quarterback in a situation to be successful. So to do that, you know, you just go in and it's like I said, it's nothing. I didn't come in and wave a magic wand and, you know, not going to sit here and act like I'm some kind of ambassador of football. It's just, it was a mutual, right? What is our identity? How do we establish it? And let's move forward with it. And again, you know, you give the athlete something that they can believe in, something that they're comfortable with, and I believe that the offensive staff did a remarkable job with that. You know, moving forward, you know, we'll see how that continues to evolve, but that's the brand of football that I believe in. That's the brand of football that we all believe in, you know, running the football, establish the run offensively.
You know, on the other side of the ball, when you take a look at your guys in the secondary, battling through a bunch of injuries right now in the defensive backfield. We saw 4 guys out. What is the update, and do you have any update on the rash of injuries that your guys have been fighting through in the secondary?
I mean, you know, it's week to week, you know, day to day. And unfortunately for us, it's been like that since the Minnesota game. And then again, you know, we're not the only school in the country that are, you know, injury plagued, right? And football is that kind of sport. It's next man up. So, you know, in the secondary, we're going to get some guys back. We're probably going to have some guys still out. Again, you just got to rely on a lot of young athletes that have to step up in the secondary, and they will. You know, they will. They're being thrown in the fire, and they're getting a lot of good experience along the way. And right now, you got to work with what you got. And I'm confident in all those guys. And at the end of the day, all I ask for is that they go out and compete. And they're doing their best, and I'm proud of them. Now, who will we get back? We'll see on Thursday night.
We're just getting underway with Coach Hall. The defensive secondary is getting healthy, but the front 7 has been playing well, and they're going to have their hands full. How do you stop Bryce Love and the Stanford Cardinal? Inside the Huddle rolls on. Taking a look at the Pac-12 standings, the Beavs is still hunting for their first win, but no better opponent for a Beaver to get a win against than a tree. And that's what's at hand as Stanford comes to town this week on Thursdays. We're joined again by Coach Corey Hall down live in Corvallis. You know, Coach, as you guys, the Beavs played their best game of the season against Colorado. And was that bye week important for you to kind of take a step back, breathe, and reorganize? Or as a coach and a football player, would you have rather just have kept on going through and capitalize on that good performance against Colorado?
You know, for me as a coach, and I'm pretty sure for this team, I think the bye week came at a really good time, you know, given the circumstance. You know, it allowed us to work on us and, you know, rest some guys, get some guys healthy, get them at full strength. But I understand rolling with the momentum, but, you know, at the same time, you kind of want to give them some time to go ahead and reset, refocus, and then let's start the rest of the season. Now, is that going to equate to wins? You know, hopefully so. But again, we were able to at least exhale, you know, for a moment. Again, given the circumstance. Now, do we harp on it? Do we focus? We don't even talk about it anymore, right? We move on, we move forward, and we fight. And so that's kind of been our mentality and our mindset is we got to fight through this, and then the only game we're worried about is Stanford, right, Thursday night. So we don't look at record, you know, we don't look at standing. We look at where we are and who we got to go through to get to the next step. So we'll see. Would you love that momentum to carry over? Absolutely. You know, will it? Again, we'll see Thursday night.
Coach, you've talked about resetting, and what a way to start against the #1 rusher in the country. This is a very good football player, but it seems like Stanford has a guy every year. You know, McCaffrey leaves, Gerhard, they just keep going one after the other, back to Darren Nelson. I mean, this is a program that is incredible with running the football. Against Bryce Love, what do you have to do to stop this guy defensively, or is there anything you can do other than just play your solid brand of football?
I mean, you do. It's about, you know, making your plays when they present themselves, you know, understanding how their gap schemes are going to develop and containing them, right? I mean, because I don't care what back you're playing against in the Pac-12, they're all threats. You know, Stanford presents a different kind of challenge, you know, because they run that pro style system, okay? And so running that's why you see that they produce those running backs year in and year out. You know, it's a system, it's a program. And, you know, they're downhill runners. So you got to understand their gap schemes, where you fit. You can't let them get a body on a body and just stay on blocks. You got to make sure we're scraping over the top and we're hitting our fits. So, you know, how do you deactivate a Bryce Love is you play tough, hard-nosed football, but most importantly, you play smart. Now, is that going to happen every down? No, but you have to minimize your mistakes and capitalize on your opportunities and hopefully try to keep them playing behind the chains a little bit, not in front.
That's a perfect transition into our Carrier Expert Picks, brought to you by Carrier Heating and Air Conditioning. Carrier, turn to the experts.
Coach, I usually get to suggest somebody who's an expert pick, and this week it's the front seven, the entire front seven, for the reasons you just talked about. You've got a lot of guys participating in tackles for loss and filling those gaps. Again, reiterate a lot of what you just said, but talking about what you have to do in that front seven to take Bryce Love away and make this Stanford team do something they're uncomfortable with, throwing the football.
Correct. You know, and I'm excited to see those guys play. I really am. And I keep reminding them, there was a moment there in spring ball to where we turned those guys loose, and I'm not going to say almost, they were unstoppable. So I'm going to use old coaching rhetoric, right? These guys have yet to play their best game, and they have a lot, you know, they have a lot in them. And to see it come alive one of these weeks, I want it to be Thursday night. When it happens, when they put it all together, it's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be phenomenal. So hopefully that's this Thursday night against this, because it matches up perfectly against this offensive scheme.
Look at that. He's only been 2 weeks on the job. He's already a seasoned vet on that one. The coach speak is mid-season form right now. Coach, on the opposite side of the ball, you look at the Stanford defense. They don't get enough credit for as talented as they are, including Justin Reed, a ball-hawking defensive back. What challenges does Justin Reed present as the nation's leader in interceptions heading into this tilt on Thursday night?
Well, I mean, they're smart, right? And they know where to be, and they're rarely ever wrong. Okay, that's what you're going to get from those players and Reed on the Stanford defense. They're fundamentally sound, and you know they play good football. And so, you know, what you have to do, again, you have to just stay consistent, okay, and not panic. Make sure you make your plays, and you don't turn the ball over, and understand that every play is not a touchdown, right? And go ahead and take what the defense gives you. Now, because you're playing against the Cardinal, right, the Stanford Cardinal, obviously there are some things that are going to be advantageous as far as our skill set and comparatively to Stanford's. Now, are we going to take advantage of that and capitalize on that? We'll see. But they are. I mean, they're a smart group of guys. They play 11-man football. They're savvy, and you know, most importantly, I mean, they're physical. This is the brand of football that they play, both sides of the ball.
All right, Coach Hall, we need to still get your keys to the game. Plus, we get Steve's keys to the game as well as Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on. Thursday night, Reser Stadium opens its doors for the Stanford Cardinal, the 20th ranked team in the country, coming to town, and Oregon State still searching for that first Pac-12 win as we welcome back in Coach Corey Hall. And Coach Hall, as the Cardinal come up into the Beavers State, what are the keys to the game for you in this Thursday night tilt?
For me, it's going to be to play fundamentally sound and physical, very physical for 4 quarters. I think if these athletes play with passion, tenacity, and, you know, smart football, those are the keys to the game in every phase, right? Offense, defense, and special teams. So you just got to be aggressive, and we have to stay consistent, and most importantly, physical.
Coach, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. Good luck Thursday night.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, as we take a look here, your Beavers coverage doesn't stop on NBC Sports Northwest. Go Beavs every Thursday, 5 o'clock. Tuesday, we got Talkin' Beavers at 7, and then us, Beavers Inside the Huddle, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. All right, Steve, We got Coach Hall's keys to the game. Now let's get your keys to the game. And our keys are brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealer. Stop by your local Northwest Honda dealer or visit us online today at northwesthondadealers.com. What do you got?
You know, every week, same thing. Stop the run. Only this week, it's even more special. Bryce Love is as good as it gets in college football. And Stanford, we haven't even talked about the fact they'll put that heavy line in there and put 5, 6, 7 offensive linemen up in front. So that's a tough situation. Stop their running game. You got to score on defense or the special teams. The Beavers haven't done it all year, and they need to do it some way. Make something happen special. Hopefully in the passing game, they pick something off, make something really happen. And last but not least, out Stanford. Oregon State gets in these headbutts all the time with Stanford every single year. The Beavers need to win that. Keep control of the football, low-scoring game, win the football game.
Now, we mentioned it right there, these headbutting games. They've always played Stanford tough. They've played Stanford tight. What do you expect to see Thursday night?
I expect to see that kind of game. I think you see it in Coach Hall in the way he's talking. I think you can see it in practice with the enthusiasm of the players. They play 60 minutes like that, and I think you'll see a game that's in the 28-24 range. That's where they always seem to be with Stanford.
Yeah. You know what? They're calling it Haul In down there at Oregon State.
Haul In.
I think after hearing Coach tonight, I may be Haul In too.
I love it.
Haul in on this one. All right, we'll see you next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Every Wednesday with Coach Hall. Beavers Inside the Huddle.